In China 2025 industrial strategy, local manufacturers are heavily subsidized by the government and supported with other favorable policies.
China has established itself as a leader in the electric vehicle EV market, undoubtedly a remarkable achievement. However, recent footage of an abandoned EV graveyard raises unsettling questions. The drone video shows thousands of electric cars parked in an eerily silent field in Hangzhou, eastern China. Among the models seen are Geely Candy K10 EV, Neta V, and Bide E3 EVs, which appear to be brand new. The irony is palpable as China continues to tout its green agenda while at the same time showing the dark side of the EV industry's boom. YouTuber Winston Sturzel exposed the video and alleged that Chinese EV makers are registering the cars and claiming to have sold them to boost the sales numbers and get subsidies from the government. However, caption translations indicate that these vehicles reportedly belong to a failed car-sharing service called Microcity. Yet, the overwhelming number of abandoned EVs raises questions on EV manufacturers' honesty and the potential misuse of government subsidies. In this blog, we explore how China's EV dominance hides a more complex reality, one that raises alarming environmental implications. But how did we get here? The dark side to China's EV rise. China's EV manufacturing and sales dominance. Eerie footage of abandoned EV graveyard. Allegations of deceptive tactics by EV makers. The dark side to China's EV rise. China may have risen to become the global powerhouse in electric vehicle manufacturing and sales, but there appears to be a dark side to its success. The recent drone footage of enormous fields filled with thousands of abandoned Chinese electric cars is a testament to that. The sight of the Geely Candy K10 EV, Neta V, and Bide E3 models lying in eerie silence in one of the districts of Hangzhou is both haunting and disturbing. While these EVs look brand new from the inside, they are covered with layers of dust and grass from the outside, as if discarded and forgotten. It is even more concerning that allegations of deceptive tactics, such as registering these cars to show numbers and obtain subsidies from the government, are surfacing. Winston Sturzel, the YouTuber who reshared the drone footage, also alleges that some Chinese EV makers indulge in such practices. Whether true or not, such claims strike a chord, especially when it comes to questionable sales numbers and misuse of government subsidies. The waste of resources and energy is another issue that needs to be addressed. The abandoned electric vehicles not only represent a waste of precious resources and energy, but also pose a challenge for hazardous waste disposal. The environmental impact of discarded cars is a pressing concern of the times. Apart from the long-term effects on soil and groundwater, the carbon footprint of manufacturing and disposing of EVs is also enormous. With China's ambitious target of producing 20% of all cars sold to be electric by 2025, the risks of inflated sales numbers and abandoned electric cars may continue to rise unless we address these problems head-on. Exploring the abandoned EV graveyard, surplus inventory left to rust, few takers for car-sharing services, failed car rental businesses, similar incidents with bicycles in China. China's EV industry, a game of numbers, race to meet EV production targets, importance of government subsidies, lack of demand for EVs, risks of inflated sales numbers. Looking ahead, solutions and alternatives, improved regulation and monitoring, shift towards sustainable mobility, exploring alternatives to traditional car ownership. As we explore solutions and alternatives for a sustainable future, we need to keep in mind the environmental and ethical concerns posed by the abandoned EV graveyard. It is time to move beyond the game of numbers and focus on creating EVs that are truly sustainable and affordable without compromising the planet's well-being. Exploring the abandoned EV graveyard, as seen in the drone footage shared by YouTuber Winston Sturzel, there are enormous fields filled with thousands of abandoned Chinese electric cars in Hangzhou. The white paint of these electric vehicles is tainted by layers of dust, and the tires are partly covered by encroaching grass. These abandoned cars seem to be in pristine condition, with untouched plastic seat wraps and screens still shining. However, they all have registration plates. It is reported that Chinese EV makers register the cars and claim to have sold them to show numbers and obtain subsidies from the government. One caption in the video, translated to English, reads, "BYD inventory flooded, 600 cars waiting to be processed." Another video revealed that the surplus inventory is over 15,000 square meters in size and is left to rust in Hangzhou, with commercial business labeled as the nature of the property. The abandoned cars could be attributed to the failure of car-sharing services. Microcity, a failed car-sharing service, had thousands of Candy 11 models, as reported by the Chinese state-owned newspaper People's Daily. Multiple car rental businesses also failed during the same period in China. The problem is not new in China. In 2018, bicycles in Shanghai experienced a similar fate as bike sharing reached its peak. The result was mountain-sized heaps of brightly colored surplus bicycles lying around. The lack of demand for electric cars and the surplus inventory left to rust in giant fields in Hangzhou sheds light on the dark side of China's rise in EV manufacturing and sales. The overproduction of electric cars leads to a waste of resources and energy, and misused government subsidies. It also points towards inflated sales numbers that paint a rosy picture of the EV industry. However, it's not all bleak. The abandoned cars could be repurposed for recycling or donation. Looking to the future, China's government could increase regulation and monitoring, shift towards sustainable mobility, and explore alternatives to traditional car ownership like ride-sharing, electric bikes, or public transportation. Jokes aside, the abandoned EV graveyard presents a serious issue that requires immediate attention. It's time to take a step back and reflect on the future of transportation. China's EV industry. A game of numbers, China has established itself as a global leader in electric vehicle manufacturing and sales. The central government, along with local governments, has been pushing for electrification of transportation to curb pollution and reduce dependence on oil imports. Incentives such as tax breaks, subsidies, and free license plates have made owning an electric car cheaper than owning a gas-powered car in China. As a result, sales of EVs have skyrocketed in the country. However, the race to meet EV production targets has led to some questionable practices. Some EV manufacturers have been accused of inflating their sales numbers to obtain government subsidies. The surplus inventory of unsold cars left to rust in China's abandoned EV graveyard is a testament to this. Moreover, the lack of demand for EVs means that many of these inflated sales numbers aren't translating into actual vehicle sales. A report by Bloomberg Neff estimates that as much as 40% of China's government subsidies for EVs may have been wasted due to fraud and other illegal activities. The importance of government subsidies cannot be overstated in China's EV industry. The subsidies had incentivized many automakers to enter the market, resulting in a crowded and highly competitive industry. However, this has also led to a race to the bottom in terms of pricing and quality. Many manufacturers have been cutting corners to reduce costs and keep prices down, resulting in safety concerns for consumers. The risks of inflated sales numbers go beyond just the misuse of subsidies. It also affects the credibility of the industry and investors' confidence in it. If consumers and investors lose trust in the industry, it could lead to a ripple effect resulting in a slowdown in the growth of the EV market. In conclusion, while the rise of China's EV industry is commendable, it is not without its challenges. The government needs to ensure that subsidies are being distributed fairly and going towards actual vehicle sales. The industry needs to work towards improving the quality of EVs and building consumer trust. Lastly, consumers need to be educated about the actual benefits of EVs to increase demand. Only then can China's EV industry move towards a more sustainable. China's abandoned electric vehicle graveyard is not just an eerie sight, but also a ticking environmental time bomb. As EV sales in China rise, so does the number of discarded electric cars, which end up in vast fields, generating long-term problems for soil, groundwater, and hazardous waste disposal. Apart from the immediate consequences, the manufacturing and disposal carbon footprint of EVs only add to the already dire climate situation. While EVs promise a cleaner future of transport, the apparent disregard exhibited by manufacturers puts a question mark on the entire promise of clean mobility. Surplus inventory, inflated sales numbers, and misuse of government subsidies have further exacerbated this issue. It is high time that companies are held accountable and necessary measures are put in place to regulate and monitor the EV industry. The solution to the growing environmental problem requires a collective effort. The shift towards sustainable mobility, exploring alternatives to traditional car ownership, such as car sharing and public transport, and the implementation of improved regulations and monitoring are the immediate steps that can be taken in the right direction. The abandoned fields filled with thousands of electric cars should serve as a wake-up call for both consumers and manufacturers. After all, it's not just a matter of numbers and subsidies, but a moral obligation to make sure that the quest for a cleaner future does not end up in a graveyard of discarded electric vehicles. It is clear that the rise of China's EV industry has come with some serious challenges. The abandoned EV graveyard is a stark reminder of the need for improved regulation and monitoring. The government needs to hold EV manufacturers accountable for their actions and ensure that they are not misusing subsidies or engaging in deceptive practices. There needs to be stricter oversight of how EVs are produced, used, and disposed of. Another solution is to shift towards sustainable mobility. This means promoting the use of public transportation, carpooling, and cycling as alternatives to using private cars. The government can incentivize the use of these alternatives by improving infrastructure, such as building more bike lanes or upgrading public transportation systems. Exploring alternatives to traditional car ownership is also essential. Solutions like car sharing and ride sharing can significantly reduce the number of cars on the road, which in turn can reduce the need for new EVs. Car sharing. Companies need to be held to high standards when it comes to maintenance and disposal of their vehicles to avoid creating more abandoned car graveyards. Overall, the rise of China's EV industry presents both opportunities and challenges. While EVs offer a more sustainable mode of transportation, there are serious environmental and social implications to consider. By implementing smarter regulations, promoting sustainable mobility, and exploring alternative ownership models, we can build a more sustainable future for all. Conclusion. In a country where electric vehicle manufacturing and sales have soared, it is disheartening to see the aftermath of the industry's success. The eerie footage of thousands of abandoned EVs raises questions about China's push to become an EV superpower. The misuse of government subsidies, questionable sales numbers, and waste of resources and energy are just some of the factors contributing to this dark side of China's EV rise. As we explore the environmental impact of discarded EVs, it is essential to consider alternative solutions and increased regulation to curb these issues. Let's hope the industry can find a way forward that benefits both the environment and the economy. If you enjoyed this video and want to stay up to date with the latest advancements in automotive technology, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to receive alerts for our future videos. We'd love to hear your thoughts on China's abandoned EV graveyard, so please leave your comments below. Thank you for joining us on this thrilling journey into the future of mobility, and until next time, keep driving towards innovation.